Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast from the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, he's the editor and writer at 48minutes.com, assistant editor at Outkick.com. He's our Cavs insider, national NBA writer, Sam Amico. Sam, emergency trade podcast. We got to do it. We got to do it.
Well, I think we usually do it this time anyway, so they probably knew the podcast was coming, and the Cavs wanted to get the trade out ahead of the podcast just for the sake of us.
They needed our approval before the three-teamer went through, and we were, Wednesday, like if any later in the week, the Browns would be, all over this is the perfect time to do it. So we gave them the okay, Sam.
That's right, and it worked out well.
Oh my goodness, what a trade! I mean, they've been talking about a Harden trade for what seemed like weeks, and Nets were a possibility. We find out today that he wanted to go to Portland, right? We heard Philly with Ben Simmons, a lot of different kind of like conversations going on. He ends up a Brooklyn Net, and they have their big three. Here's Sham. It's always interesting to see who drops the bomb first. I think Woj dropped it in conjunction with another reporter. Shams kind of
Ramona Shelburne and Woj.
Yeah.
And Shams was right there, I think, right behind him a few seconds later.
Yeah, I saw Shams had the full details of the trade. I know Woj had the trade bomb.
Right.
But this is a three. It's pretty. It's a lot, Sam. I'm going to go over it, and then I want to hear your immediate reaction, and then we'll go over it. So the Rockets trade James Harden to the Nets, and they receive Victor Oladipo, which if you listen to this pod, maybe this was a pre-show conversation we had. I don't know. I'm not surprised he was traded. I'm surprised it maybe took this long.
For Oladipo?
Yeah.
No, that's not a surprise.
Conversation for another topic. Well, I don't know. Maybe we're talking about a trade. Anyway, the Nets get James Harden. The Rockets receive Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum from the Cavs, Rodnoins Kurucs.
No idea. I don't know how to say it or spell it.
Right. 3 Brooklyn first-round picks, 1 Milwaukee from us, 22. It's unprotected, which Giannis re-signed. So that was pretty much going to be whatever pick you get for going out of the first round, as long as they have Coach Bud there. That's kind of like the Bucks' fate. Yeah. You can't convince me otherwise, damn it. And then 4 Brooklyn first-round swaps. I mean, they're all kind of like mid-20 picks, but quite a big haul. The Pacers received Karis LeVert, incredible player, second-rounder. Cavs, really kind of like the steal of the trade. They get Jarrett Allen, young center, and Taurean Prince. Sam, what's your gut reaction?
My first reaction for the Cavs standpoint of it was I just envisioned kind of Jarrett Allen. I mean, he's only 22 years old. He is 6'11", probably 7'4" if you count his afro, and is just very springy, great athlete. And, I looked up his stats. He's been Mr. Consistent in terms of getting, 11 points and close to 10 rebounds a game his entire career. I like the guy. I think he's really kind of, he was already pretty good. I think he was already starting to turn a corner through what I think he played 12 games with the Nets so far. So I just think I envisioned him with, Sexton, Garland, Okoro, let's say Larry Nance Jr., and eventually I'm assuming Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be in the mix, and Allen and those guys running the floor and finishing. I think Kobe Altman's done a real nice job putting together a very young, exciting team with a lot of upside. Now, of course, there are some things you got to figure out in all that, but I think it was, there are a lot of people who are asking, why didn't the Rockets demand Jarrett Allen in this deal? They were surprised that Jarrett Allen actually came to Cleveland. That's how highly thought of he is.
Yeah. And it seemed like Cavs were interested in him before the trade. Maybe someone they're going to be trying to target. He's a free agent, it seems, next year, or very, very soon.
At the end of next season.
At the end of next season, right, in 2022. I could not be more excited. And I've mentioned this on a previous podcast, Sam. I truly believe we have top 3 best young core in the league. And to add a player like Jarrett Allen, who that was a big question mark, is Drummond going to resign? What's going to happen with Love? We get someone who is younger, a little faster than Dre Drum, right? A little more.
Sure.
Well, I think Dre Drum's athletic, so I don't want to, throw him under the bus that way, but someone who fits this young core, they can all grow together, and you get really, really, really excited about the future and the vision that Bickerstaff has. Whenever he took over for Beeline, it was like, what are the Cavs doing? They kind of have pieces that don't really have much direction, but drafting Okoro and bringing on Jarrett Allen, now you start to see, this is going to be really, really exciting.
Well, they've been they've obviously been extremely improved defensively under JB Bickerstaff this year. And this in spite of this horrible rash of injuries that they've undergone the past week and a half, which is, almost historic, with as many key guys that they're missing. But yet they've still been solid defensively. Every guy that's out there has been following these defensive principles. And Allen gives them another guy. I talked about in the column I had written earlier for 48 minutes. I said, Drummond is more, and you're right, he is an athletic guy, but he's kind of more of a guy who's going to take up a lot of space. He gets his defense done with strength and size, whereas Allen's more of a springy string bean who will swat your shot into next week. So he does Allen gives them that element, almost, kind of like a much younger JaVale McGee, in the sense that he's going to alter a lot of shots. He's going to block a lot of shots, and he's a good finisher. Allen's a very good finisher. So I just think it was, I thought score one for Kobe Altman.
Larry Nance Jr. tweeted out that he said, Sex Linda surrounded by trees. A lot of length, a lot of height on the court for the Cavs. And, I think maybe Jarrett Allen is kind of in the mold of a big man of the current NBA style, right?
Yes.
Maybe Dre Drum would really thrive 15, 20 years ago.
Yep.
You want players like Jarrett Allen on your team. He's 22. He's super young. I mean, Are you kidding me, Sam? I mean, this is just if you're a Cavs fan, it's pinch us, because this is like, could it be like any more of a promising future?
Right. And you throw him in with guys who are, early 20s with, Sexton, Okoro, who's not 20 yet, Darius Garland, again, Kevin Porter Jr., Kevin Porter Jr. will return at some point. And that just, Larry Nance Jr. is still young. He's just older than these guys. And you have Chetty Osman, you have, you got to figure out what to do. You obviously have Dylan Windler once he gets healthy, and Prince too is only 26, which surprised me. I thought he was older than that. Mm-hmm. And so you have these guys, this nice young core, and I think Allen gives you a guy. For I think we may have talked about this last podcast where I said the Cavs aren't where Atlanta is yet in terms of a young core. I think Allen kind of puts them in that category with the Hawks, which to me, off the top of my head, is the most impressive young core in the East. I think the Cavs are right there with them getting Allen. And guess what, Chase? You brought it up earlier. It gives you some breathing room in terms of what you're going to do with Drummond. It takes the pressure off there, because he's obviously an expiring contract. Extension talks didn't go very far, and from everything we've heard, I don't know if they're going to revisit those or what, but it takes the pressure off the Cavs and says, look, we have this young guy who presumably is going to be a really good fit. And it makes it so, you know what, if we end up having to trade Andre Drummond, or even, heaven forbid, lose him in free agency for nothing, which you don't want to do other than it creates cap space for you. Jared Allen makes you feel like the pressure is off a little bit in terms of what's going to happen next with Andre Drummond.
It does seem that this move for the Cavs, speaks to another move to be made. That it not only does it give them flexibility with Dre Drum's contract, but gives them flexibility to move other pieces, to move him or someone else. Sam, do you see the Cavs being an active player throughout the season, that there is another move to be made?
Yeah, this trade gives them the ability to make the moves and, again, take the pressure off. Frankly, as great as he's been here, I think JaVale McGee is probably their prime trade candidate. Obviously, he's not going to, obviously because he's at the later stages of his career, is probably not going to generate a whole lot in return, but he could get you something nice that you could use in a future deal.
And people are always looking for expiring contracts. Those
right,
are,
and
those are always movable.
Right, and he has a smaller one of I think it's 4.2 million that's expiring, and he is a winner. I mean, the guy just won a championship with the Lakers. He won 2 with the Warriors. He makes so many winning plays with the Cavs. I mean, they're not in any rush to trade him off, but he's a guy who could be moved. Certainly Andre Drummond, I'm not real sure the trade deadline's at early March this year. So I think that would be something to keep an eye on. I think they're going to, my guess is, unless they get, swept off their feet by an offer, they'll probably hang on to Drummond at least until March.
To see what happens. I mean,
see how it develops.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sam, let's look at the big picture in the East. The East is stacked, and isn't it just the funniest thing? LeBron goes west, and all these stars come east. The Nets. Let's talk about we got to talk about the Nets. Can Harden, Kyrie, and KD coexist? Is that going to work?
Apparently they think he can. If you look at Harden the past 2 years, I mean, last year, 2 years ago, he's with Chris Paul, and then he went, then they got Russell Westbrook. So it was James Harden, Russell Westbrook. This year they brought in John Wall, and now James Harden and John Wall, and now he's moving to a team, with presumably Kyrie Irving's going to play again. So you have Kyrie Irving, James Harden. To me, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant's going to work, or James Harden and Kevin Durant's going to work. I don't know how Kyrie Irving and James Harden are going to work. Obviously, the Nets believe that it can, but it's going to be real interesting because you have a first-time coach in Steve Nash. Now, people forget that Mike D'Antoni, who was with James Harden in Houston, is the Nets assistant.
So I get a really big Ty Lue vibe kind of with Steve Nash at this point, which is why I think he wanted D'Antoni as the assistant to kind of maybe help with some of that more administrative logistical stuff. I think there's very much a share in power there.
Right.
But I think that was a point in the Nets' positive direction to bring Harden there was D'Antoni has worked with Harden.
Yeah, I don't know. That's exactly it. And I don't know that the Nets were going to, this gives them an opportunity to win it all.
Yeah.
Very much win the East. Durant looks fantastic.
Yep.
Kyrie, when he's out there, looks fantastic. If you find a way to make this mesh and everybody's happy and they're getting their shots, because don't forget, there's other guys on the team. It's not just these three.
Right.
It's, it's other guys who
DeAndre Jordan, Jeff Green, Joe Harris.
Right. Right. Joe Harris is going to be out there. Who can,
Sam, is this pending physical? Like, are they going to like test Harden and like see if he can run? And like, he's looking a little chunky. I haven't seen the phrase pending physical with this yet. So
he does look, he looks
a little different than the normal Harden playing
Yeah, he looks like he put on weight. He looks like he looks like he's playing himself back into shape. So it could be amazing, but and I'm actually leaning toward it being amazing, but you also wonder, obviously you wonder about the chemistry, and because chemistry is so huge when you have stars. Are they going to, we saw it in Golden State for years. They had stars, but those guys had great chemistry.
Yep.
Are the Nets gonna have that same kind of chemistry? It's too soon to say. We got to see them playing together.
If there's any star in the league that could make Kyrie and Harden play together, I think KD demands that respect. I think
yes, without question. And I think that's I know that Cavs fans don't like KD because of his whole move.
Sam, I'll say this: I was at Game 2 of the 17 finals. No, I'm sorry, I was at Game 3 of the 17 finals, the first home game, and I'd never seen a player take over a game like Durant took over that game. It was incredible.
He looks to be, despite the Achilles injury and surgery, he looks like he's bounced back from that really well.
Yes, he does.
So, look, he is probably the best player. I mean, he's the one guy, if they face the Lakers, say in the finals, would be the one guy who could offset Anthony Davis, and he's better than Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
He's
gone toe to toe with LeBron before, and he's won.
Absolutely.
He's got the finals, except for when he was younger.
He's a 7-footer who can do step back threes. I mean, he's amazing. So there's a lot there to kind of, I mean, look, Durant and Kyrie wanted to be there. Harden wanted to be there.
Yeah.
These guys all wanted to be there and be together. So,
and when we talked about playoffs,
nobody to blame but themselves.
When we talked about playoffs, we mentioned the Nets before they even had Harden as possibly a favorite to win the East, to challenge Boston, to challenge Miami, to, we would say challenge Toronto, but they're a little, they're struggle bus right now a little bit.
The Bucks and the Celtics are there too. Yep.
Yeah, but the Sixers are, they were 7-1, and they have Doc Rivers. So now this vaults them to the favorite on paper. I mean, without a doubt,
without question,
you got to say the Nets are favorite, and it does bring back a little bit of, Paul Pierce, KG, kind of vibes when they sold the farm for those guys in their twilight that didn't quite work out. But KD, when he's playing like this, it doesn't matter who's on the team. They're going to challenge.
Yeah, right. As long as you have Durant out there, you're going to be okay. And now Harden, you theoretically is going to be somewhere where he's happy and producing again. I don't think he's going to lead the league in scoring anymore, but if he's giving you 20, 25 a game, which he does fairly easily, this team could be, they could be very dangerous if the chemistry is there.
Very, very dangerous. Let's talk about the Pacers. We both have a ton of respect for the Pacers, for how they run the organization and the team. I'm going to edit this out. Is Nate McMillan still the coach?
No, it's Nate Bjorken.
Okay, I thought
I think it might be Nick Bjorken.
Okay, I thought I remember he got fired. I didn't say that, but okay, I'm going to pick it back up. And they get in this trade a player who was always has a hard time staying healthy, but is always producing, who's always making sure that people know he's on the court, and Karis LeVert, who is a shooting guard, small forward who can create his own shot and always seems to be making plays, and he's going to fit in this Pacer team. Then it seems like a really nice fit, Sam.
I really like. I mean, we'll talk about the Rockets, but I really like this move. Victor Oladipo, I don't think wanted to be there anymore. And I think the Pacers, and he's got an expiring deal. And again, it's a guy you don't want to lose for nothing. And the Pacers always have these kind of unsung guys that just seem to fit so well. Malcolm Brogdon being one. Sabonis, this almost has become Sabonis's team. I mean, he's he's the guy who is definitely going to get, he's an all-star. He's going to get you your 20 points, probably double-digit rebounds. And TJ Warren, when he was healthy, came on real strong last year, particularly at the NBA restart in the bubble. And they really have the perfect point guard in Brogdon. I mean, he is a guy who can score, but he forces nothing. And I like this deal for the Pacers. I watched the Pacers last night beat Golden State in Golden State without Oladipo. And it's just the way they play. They're relentless. They play really smart team basketball. And while they're not going to be contending for a championship right now, they're a piece away from being a major player in the East. So LeVert, I think this is going to give LeVert an opportunity to shine a little bit more than he did in Brooklyn.
Sure, and, limited opportunities in Brooklyn, and this is Sabonis's team, and I think this is also an opportunity to say, hey, TJ, like let's show us what you got. If you want to be this kind of like Robin or second banana to Sabonis and really be a major contributor for years, like that, like this is your time, and they're giving him this opportunity.
Well, they have all the things you need. They have they're not real deep, but as far as a starting five, you have, when Warren's healthy, you have TJ Warren, and that team is a team to be reckoned with. And I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs because, they're all kind of the NBA no names from Midwestern America that doesn't have a lot of glitz and glamour to them, but they're scrappy and they're dangerous.
So let's move to the Rockets here before we take a break and discuss kind of the state of the Cavs. The Rockets have completely pressed reset from MVP seasons and postseason promise to a bunch of just failed expectations and empty playoff journeys. They trade. The Harden era is over in Houston. They do get Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum to go with John Wall, but this just kind of seems like a team trying to throw it together without really, I don't know. I'm not saying there's bad players. It's just, you can tell they're trying to do something on the fly, and it's hard. It's hard to watch.
Yeah. They replaced all-star backcourt of Westbrook and Harden with John Wall and Oladipo, which you could do worse.
That's true.
And I do like, I think they've made themselves interesting, with Wall, Oladipo, and then you still have Eric Gordon. You added DeMarcus Cousins, and hoping that he can stay healthy and be a shell of what he used to be. And you threw out your old style of play because you hired a new coach in Silas, and they're really starting fresh right now. So maybe on paper, okay, this team's maybe a 500 team, maybe on paper. I think that they could do some good things because it was a distraction. The James Harden thing was a distraction. We heard John Wall say last night, our on-court chemistry has been rocky. It's not gone great. And I think he and Oladipo could kind of lift that team and maybe make them a little bit of a dark horse. So I think that they will be interesting but again, you don't have a lot of depth, particularly in the front court. You lost Covington to Portland. That was a big loss because he's an excellent defender. So, who knows what's going to happen with the Rockets, but I think, look, if you had to get rid of Harden, which you did, you could have done worse than bring in Oladipo in return to pair with Wall.
That is so true. So that's the trade. Sam, which team moved the needle the most? That's a phrase you hear a lot about drafting or trades or free agency. Which team moved the needle I have an answer, but I want to hear your professional journalist objective answer, because mine's not really objective.
Well, since I'm just a regular guy and only an alleged professional journalist, I'll give you my well, obviously, James Harden is the absolute reason that this deal was made. He's a all-star NBA scoring champion. and is the guy that's going to supposedly put the Nets over the top if they weren't already. So on paper, you have to give the edge to the Nets. I also really like what the Cleveland Cavaliers did here on a smaller scale, because they are a team that's looking toward the future primarily, even though they've had a nice run early before all the injuries. They're primarily looking toward the future with guys like Sexton and Garland and Kevin Porter Jr. and Isaac Okoro, and hopefully Windler, and those guys are they're all part of moving forward. And you threw in the perfect center, in my estimation, in Allen to match with the rest of that lineup. And I suspect, I don't know about Chetty, but I suspect Larry Nance Jr. is going to be around for a while. And I think he's a great fit on here. I think Prince could be a very underrated fit in today's NBA with the way, teams are playing smaller. I think that the Cavs could run four guys out there with Jared Allen, four young guys with Jared Allen. And it'll be a lot of fun. And I think they're going to be look, they got to get healthy somehow, some way. And once they do that, I think that they will be a lot of fun to watch. They already are. When they're healthy this year, they've been a blast to watch. I've really enjoyed watching the Cavs this year when healthy.
We'll touch on the Cavs after the break, Sam. I do think you're right. I do think right now, obviously Harden moves the needle for the Nets right now, but I think long term, I really think the Cavs gotta, they have the long term largest needle movement because of what Allen can bring in the future.
Absolutely.
And so I think today, right now, Harden, gives them a lower basement and a higher ceiling than what they had before. But I think long term, I think the Cavs kind of came away with the second best piece to that. And I don't know. Well, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about the decimated Cavs.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Powell, co-host of the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast. Check us out anywhere you listen to podcasts. For all your Browns coverage, post-game, pre-game, anything you need Browns, you'll find it here on the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Aaron Scheip, co-host of the Tim and Scheip Show. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and we love talking college football. We talk everything from Florida Gators to the Ohio State Buckeyes. If you like college football, check us out. Thanks.
I'm Dennis Maniloff, co-host along with the roadman Kenny Rhoda of the Next Man Up podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Roadman and I do a deep dive into Browns, Indians, Cavs, Ohio State, and anything else that's on the sports fan's mind.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Using a narrative storytelling approach, the Hyman Podcast was created to start conversations that need to be human. Week by week, I'll break down walls and barriers and make people wildly uncomfortable, all the while giving a voice to the voiceless and the marginalized. Consider this your personal invitation to be part of that conversation.
All right, back here with Sam of 48 Minutes and Outkick.com. Sam, the Cavs have been hit by the injury bug, and when I mean hit, I mean they were ran over at a crosswalk and reversed over, and then ran over again, and the car just kept on going. It's been a tough time for the Cavs.
Well, they got rid of one guy with an injury in Exum, so that's one less injury, and they got two healthy guys. So, but yeah, I mean it's been very difficult in terms of just, first you have Kevin Love and you have Garland, who goes out with a shoulder injury. Sexton's foot's been bothering him. And then, the other night against Utah, you lose Drummond to a bruised Achilles as well. So there's four of your starters. Okoro was just coming back from an injury and starting to get acclimated, but now he's playing with second and third stringers, so
he's just padding his offensive rookie of the year resume, Sam.
Well,
That's
he's
all
definitely
doing.
getting more shots than he probably would with the other guys. So that helps. But I think that they, on the bright side for Garland and Sexton, these aren't serious things. Same thing with Drummond, and Love. It sounds like he could be back shortly. So it's just a matter of once these guys all get back, you've kind of got to get reacclimated and get your chemistry back, and that can take a minute. So look, if they want to stay in striking distance of the playoffs, which I really believe they do, despite the fact that this draft is supposed to be this 2021 draft is supposed to be, fantastic. They're not going to go up so high in the playoffs. I mean, they're not going to finish. If they were to make the playoffs, it would be with 7th or 8th seed. They're not going to rise above where they would lose a really good pick. They can still get a good pick. Even if they get in the playoffs. But I think that they're going to be a very, very, when they're healthy this year, what did we say? They started 4-1. Is that right?
Yeah, they started 4-1. Last time we talked, they were 4-4, and now they're 5-7.
Yeah. So with all that in mind, they do play hard. I'm still standing by JB Bickerstaff, fantastic coach, perfect coach for this team.
Agreed.
And that's a big part of the battle. If you have your players respect and attention, you're going to get more out of them, and they definitely do. So I am very much looking forward to still watching the Cavs. They don't have to get all those guys back, but they have to get a few of them back. And I think within the next week or so, we'll see guys starting to trickle back into the lineup. The key will be for them, hopefully, that they stay healthy, and then you can make your run and be extremely exciting. I think it's just going to be an exciting season, no matter where they finish, as long as they can stay healthy, because they play really hard, and I love the improvement on defense. I think if you're a Cavs fan, you just have not seen this kind of defense, especially from a non-LeBron team in Cleveland in a long time, probably since the Mike Fratello years of the 90s.
Yeah.
Have you seen this kind of defense? So they have a lot to be proud of and a lot to hang their hat on. It's just, this dumb luck of spate of injuries all happening at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
It is almost unheard of, and it's just not fair right now.
The week four slate hasn't really been kind to them. They finish up a long road trip with a loss to the Bucks. It was a competitive game. It was close. Then they came home on Monday, and they've been home all week. And because of injuries, they just haven't really been able to pull out a win at home. They lost to the Grizzlies on Monday, January 11th. They lost to the Jazz. Wasn't really close on Tuesday. They've been off today and tomorrow and Friday. They host the Knicks. Would love to see some players maybe come back a little bit. And try to get a victory there. And then they have a 2-day road trip in DC to play the Wizards. Sam, those kind of next 3 games, we don't want to see them lose those 3. And all of a sudden they've lost 3-6 straight. And now they got to really go on a run to get back to 500. Like we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that, do we?
That'd be nice if they could win 2 of them, and then you're sitting at what? You're 5-7. You'd be 7-9. You're okay there. It's just what you got to do is take care of your business at home, which unfortunately they've been unable to do because of the injuries, losing to Memphis and then getting blown out by Utah, which was, totally understandable. But
Utah's a good team.
Utah's a good team, and when you don't have any of your guys, that's understandable. So, they owe the Knicks one from losing to them earlier at home this year. You hope you can get one against the Wizards, it's just again, even if they don't get Drummond back right away and Garland back, if they at least get Sexton, I think they'll have a good shot to win 2 out of these next 3.
How soon will Allen be able to suit up for the Cavs? I'm asking for the podcast, but also for my fantasy team because I had Jared Allen on my fantasy team, and I need to know.
Picked him up already, did you?
No, I had him. I needed.
Okay,
he's been on the squad.
Okay, Well, I have Colin Sexton, so hopefully they're both play. But Allen, as far as I know, could play as soon as Friday.
Knicks. Okay.
Although, with this being a pandemic year, I don't know whether or not he's going to have to go through stuff after traveling. My guess is they'll give him a test and take his temperature, and if he's good to go, he's good to go. So, cool. My guess is he could play as soon as Friday.
Well, hopefully the Cavs stay healthy, both health-wise and injury-wise, and they start to turn a corner and pick up a couple wins here so the win-loss column doesn't get too lopsided. Sam, that does it for this edition of Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. Follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Get all of his work and writings at 48minutes.com. And don't forget to check out Outkick.com for breaking news, insider info, and more. Sam, any final thoughts, brother?
No, we'll just keep praying and keep our fingers crossed that they get healthy, because when that happens, they've proven already this season that they are a formidable, fun group.
Yep. Looking forward to the Friday night game against the Knicks. Mike Breen, take us out!
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.